So let's say you found the skeleton. How would you tell if it's a dinosaur? You personally, how would you decide?
Well, interesting question. I don't know. I'd have to do some research on that.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Matt with Maddie, number 50. The thumbnail might say 49, but it's wrong because apparently my brain has been smoothed out by young Earth creationism so that it now resembles Matt's brain. That's my explanation.
Smooth.
Yeah, so smooth. I took an iron to it. I was like, too many wrinkles. Gotta get a
Full
bump.
of wrinkles. I did not iron this fabric before I started doing embroidery on it, but I will iron it afterwards.
I mean, I'm not going to criticize you. I don't know what the order of operations is for embroidery. I've never embroidered.
Well, it's gonna get pulled taut inside my hoop, and so, like, that's gonna then generate wrinkles elsewhere.
Uh,
Sorry, that's gonna happen a lot tonight, team. Hi, friends. I can't breathe. But I'm here, and I'm happy to see everyone, and I'll try to not blow your earbuds out. Your ear holes.
yeah. Let's see. We have a membership chat from Orange Dot, who's been a member for 2 months, is at the tetrapod level, and sends 3 disgusting pelagic tunicates, but also 2 awesome Godzillas. And I'll take a drink for the Godzilla. Thank you very much.
Cheers. I'm also playing with tea, friends. So that's going to take my opportunity to tell you to steal one. I'm going to steal Dapper's thunder for a second
Ooh.
and let him know that let you all know that it's a Tuesday night stream, which means we have a drinking game that we play because this is bottom of the barrel young earth creationism. So we're just here to have a little fun. I know you guys have some bingo cards going. But if you don't want to play with alcohol for like personal or religious or health reasons, right? Guys, I have so much cough syrup and albuterol and steroids in my body. I didn't want to add alcohol to the mix, so I'm drinking tea. Drink tea with me or water or I don't know, throw a dart at a picture of dear leader every time. That sounds really fun. Yeah, also, if you choose to drink with an inebriating substance, we're not responsible for the choices you make after that, but, you know, like, be a good, responsible human, friends. We care about you. We want you to come back and hang out again next week, or to see my beautiful face next month. So, you know, don't drive or operate heavy machinery, or, listen, I'm not going to tell you to not text your ex. You do you. That's none of my business.
I'll tell you not to.
Okay, I'm now out of breath, so I'm gonna let Dapper explain the drinking rules.
All right. So we have a few drinking rules here. Now, remember, these are not super serious. They don't really mean anything. It's just a fun time. So, you know, take everything that I'm about to say with a little bit of a grain of salt. And sometimes I just drink extra times because it feels right. But yeah, we will take a drink whenever Matt says something. This, by the way, is Raw Matt. Whenever Matt says something so stupid, we just have to drink to cool our brains off. We'll also take a drink anytime he tells a joke that doesn't land or tells a story that we're pretty sure didn't happen. That's a bit of a judgment call, but hey, again, it's just for fun and it doesn't matter. So who cares? We'll also take a drink if Matt references that political party from the 1920s and 30s and a little bit into the 40s in Germany that everyone knows about. We'll also take a drink if Matt... I was going to say the Columbine thing, but that's a Matt Powell thing. Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
So not that one. We'll take a drink if Matt cites a source, and we check the source. And not only does it not support his claim, but if it actively contradicts his claim, we'll take a drink. That's called a Trojan source, by the way. We'll also take a drink if Matt mixes up what we can know about Lucy, the Australopithecus afarensis specimen, with what we can know about any wider taxon to which she belongs, based on other finds. We call that one ad hominid. We only get one per stream because once they do it once, they just kind of keep doing it for a little while, and I don't really want to chug my drink. I want to be able to enjoy it for a little while. We will also take a drink any time that either Maddie or I can successfully guess what Matt is going to say next, where it's not terribly, terribly obvious, or where I haven't skipped ahead just a little bit to see what's going on, so that I know what is happening. Let's see. We'll also take a drink if I screw up the production. So, for instance, if I mute to go on break and fail to unmute, or if I fail to turn off the intro video when we come back from break or something like that, or I play the wrong video, anything like that. That counts as a Dapper as a professional. We'll stick a drink, as you saw, for super chats or membership chats that have any of our kaiju emojis. That's Godzilla, King Ghidorah, and Mothra. Also, Godzilla or Mothra may come by audibly. They may not. If they do, we'll take a drink. We'll also take a drink for every gifted membership up to a certain amount, at which point I'm just going to finish my drink and go get another one. That's about 30. And then we will also take a drink for every super chat or membership milestone chat that indicates that Answers in Genesis is a bag of dicks. You do have to be a little bit careful because I censor it heavily in English. And also, you get extra points from Maddie if you can alliterate your super chat or membership chat to that
Because it
effect.
makes me happy.
Exactly. All right, for $2, Naram to put says, it was a hot day, so it was hot today, so I guess your fan has a fan now. Well, good.
Excellent.
I'm glad you have a fan. And also, one of my fans actually does have a fan. I have two fans that blow through each other to maximize air circulation in the computer area because it gets stuffy.
Nice.
Yeah. So, like, I have a fan that has a fan in multiple ways. It was actually more important when I had when I have the real computer that I'm hoping to get back soon, but I have no idea.
Yeah. And friends, to channel my rage and anxiety, you'll see me doing some embroidery today. I'm kind of proud of these. I'm doing some religious protest art for the Stations of the Cross. So this is my one so far for Jesus Falls the First Time. This is a picture of an Australian reporter who was shot with rubber bullets by ICE. If anyone wonders how I feel, I think that's pretty clear. But this year during Easter, I found images. There was a migrant resource center in Guatemala that posted images of migrants representing the Stations of the Cross, and I thought that was really beautiful. And also because of some health things that like I am mostly on. This is the best I've been in weeks. So I've been trapped on my couch a lot. So I'm doing a lot of rage embroidery. Anywho, that's what I'm doing with my hands, just here below camera.
Roshina, who's been a member for 32 months, is at the Tetrapod level, says, "My fans blow into my fans' only fans." Excellent. Well done there. All right, so we do have a super chat goal. The super chat, any super chat will count. If it's a $2 super chat, it'll count. If it's a $50 super chat, it'll count. If it's a $500 super chat, it'll count. If your goal is to just get us a lot of the numbers on the super chat, I don't recommend sending a $500 super chat. I recommend sending a a whole bunch, $252 super chats. But I have changed it so that it's no longer needs to be teal, which were the $5 and up if you're in the US. But I felt like then it needed to go up a little bit in the number so that all the $2 count, but it's still reasonably challenging to get to. And if we get to it, in addition to us being unleashed, which is less of a thing with Maddie here. Maddie doesn't drop as many F-bombs as some of the other co-hosts. But we'll also read... Oh, sorry.
I can.
You can. Well, if we... I mean...
I'm capable.
I believe
I'm just also have a... Listen, I was in the Navy. I also have a toddler. So I say a lot of... I gentle parented myself hard today. I was using the dustbuster, right? And I pressed the wrong button, and instead of scooping up the last bit of kinetic sand, I dumped a week's worth of Cheerios and kinetic sand onto the floor.
Ooh.
And so please picture me standing there. Toddler's not next to me, but I'm like, uh-oh, everybody spills. Let's clean it up.
Through gritted teeth.
Through gritted teeth. Yeah, I said that instead of what maybe I would have said in Navy land, which I won't do right now because I'm not unleashed.
Well, maybe if we get 48 more. And Petite Flower for $5 says, "I support protest art in all forms." Yes. Look.
Thanks, friend.
I think that... So it's really not hard. Okay, let me rephrase that. It is trivial to get support for the downtrodden from the Bible. It's actually harder to get a pro-ICE message from the Bible. You have to look really hard, and you mostly have to lie a lot. Because while the Bible is not something that has a consistent message on most things, support for the immigrant or the stranger dwelling among you, if you're reading most of the Bible, it's actually pretty consistent throughout, like, the whole thing, is that you need to treat the stranger dwelling among you with dignity and generosity and hospitality because you were once strangers in a strange land. Yeah, It's getting the opposite of that out of the Bible is actually you got to work at it, or you just got to not care what's in the Bible at all and just not even pretend, which is what actually seems to be happening a lot. But yeah, no. Anyway, so we're here for Raw Matt. Now, Raw Matt had just told us that evolution has been kicked in the dirt by the geologic column a lot, and his evidence of this was just ordinary geological column things like sea transgressions exist, and that shallow seas represent large depositional environments, which for some reason he thinks is a problem for evolution, and also for some reason he thinks supports the flood of Noah. Neither of those things are true. So yeah, also normally, I don't know what it means for something to be kicked in the dirt. I know kicked in the teeth, that's a phrase I'm familiar with. But kicked in the dirt doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, because people don't normally have dirt. Like, if you kicked me in the dirt, what would that mean? Like, you kicked the bottom of my shoe?
I think maybe it means it kicks you somewhere anywhere on your body because, well, not you because you're a dinosaur, but like if you were a human man,
Right.
because you're made of dirt because of Adam.
Oh.
Yeah.
I guess that could make sense. I don't know that Raw Matt is smart enough to come up with that specifically, but like I could see that being something that someone might come up with. Landon Knoll,
But also, yeah. Go ahead and read Landon's.
Okay. Landon Knoll for $9.99 says, "Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on your time zone and latitude. Hello, Dapper Dinosaur," with a dinosaur emoji, "and Dr. Maddie. Fire all ICE employees hired after 2025, January 20th. ICE is a bag of AIG. Will take a drink." And I actually think just abolish the whole organization. But I mean, firing all of them hired after that date would be better than nothing.
We could just abolish the whole organization. That sounds fine. Yeah. Let's just do that. We didn't have it last century.
Right. We didn't even have it for the first decade of this millennium.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Wait, I thought we got it after 2001.
Oh, yeah, I was thinking, yeah, you're right. We didn't have it for the first year of this millennium. My bad.
Yeah.
Yep. For some reason, I had 2011 stuck in my head.
I do that a lot.
Yeah.
Because to be frank, 9/11 doesn't seem that long ago, even though I was a child. But like, it's such a memory. I was like, oh wow, that was a really long time ago.
How does it feel to be a senior citizen, Maddie?
Boy howdy. It feels weird. It feels weird to be an elder millennial. I have to say, I was born to be a tottering, absent-minded professor. So the older I get, the more I can embrace my true form.
The real reason you got the PhD, we now know.
Yeah. I you don't understand. I was born. That was the job I was born to do.
Maddie's been wearing tweed jackets with arm pads since she was 5.
Yeah.
Goop23 for $2 says, "I thought he meant kicked into the dirt." I guess that could make sense. Yeah, okay. Maybe that. Grungavaldi Gurnison says, "Kick you into the dirt" is a saying I've heard. Yeah, that does, but okay, look, maybe he just misspoke and didn't catch it in editing, and maybe that's it. That could be. It's reasonable. I've made that kind of mistake before too. Zemore42, who's been a member for 32 months, says, "It probably means to kick you into the dirt." Yeah, I think that does seem reasonable. All right, so let's see what else Raw Matt has for us. Uncooked Matthew, if you will. That's what his parents call him when they're angry with him. I say, "Uncooked Matthew Nyler, get over here and make your bed.
Get your fleshy butt down these stairs."
The Plastic Mouse says something in a script that I don't know how to say because I only see it ever, and it looks like it's pronounced Ogham, but given that it's a Celtic word, I'm very, very confident that it's not pronounced that way, and I don't read that script, nor do I read any of the languages that it's been used to encode. So I want to say thank you, but I have no clue what it says.
I'm going to make an assumption that it's a bag of dicks.
Probably. You know what? Sure. I will too. Let's take a drink for it.
Yeah. Let's take a drink. Cheers.
Okay. Here we go.
They have found complete stasis in the entire Pliocene era.
Okay, so first of all, that word is Pleistocene, not Pliocene. So on the one hand,
okay. Oh wait, complete stasis from those. Oh. Okay, sorry, that's hard to read. 35,000 years ago to 9,000 years ago. geologically speaking, that is a short period of
Yeah.
time.
We wouldn't actually expect to see
Right.
all that much. And also, that's basically a
Yeah.
glacial period where there's actually not that much change in the environment of Earth over that time. So
Yeah.
that's pretty in line. Now, I do want to say a couple things with the whole pronunciation thing, right? Pleistocene versus Pliocene. On the one hand, if you say words incorrectly, it often means that it's because you read them, which means you're reading, which is good. But also, if your mispronunciation just is skipping over whole syllables and letters, it probably isn't that. That's probably not what's going on. You're probably just bad at this. So, yeah.
Yeah. Also, the plastic mouse confirms that I was right.
Oh, okay. It is pronounced Ogum, according to
No,
Jillian Wren?
that it's an AIG is a bag.
No,
of.
I saw that, but also Jillian Wren says that
Oh,
it is
okay.
actually how it's pronounced. It's pronounced Ogum, like it looks.
Oh.
Wow.
Wow.
Color me shocked that anything to do with any Celtic language is pronounced as it looks.
Yeah. Hey,
so-
listen, the only language I speak, other than a smattering of English, is Fortran and Python. So
We'll get you to work on your Klingon. It'll be great.
it'll be great. I'm rewatching DS9. I'm at the Klingon wedding episode.
Oh, good. People
That's
have used
good.
that as an actual wedding ceremony, by the way.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That makes me very happy.
Oh, there was a thing. What was the thing? I don't remember what the thing was. It doesn't matter. I'll hit play, and it'll probably come to me later. Actually, it'll probably come to me seconds after I hit play.
Okay.
We also know that the Ashley phosphate beds in North Carolina have found human bones and artifacts with dinosaurs together.
We actually don't know that. None of the human artifacts or bones that have been reported have been substantiated. And yeah. Now, what has happened in some places, and I think this might actually be one of them, is that there has been reworking, which has mixed together Cretaceous and later Cenozoic strata. So what reworking is like, let's actually this actually comes up in hominin fossils as well, right? So what if someone digs or something digs, right? And then things get mixed up. Well, you don't have nice, neat strata anymore. And so you have to be careful. And so there are a number of places where coal beds or phosphate beds have been dug by either ancient humans or modern humans, or have been disturbed by things like earthquakes and things like that, right? And what that means is that you'll be going along, you'll be like, okay, well, this is a nice like Cretaceous coal seam or whatever, and then it will be interrupted by a jumble of rocks and also newer coal. And that has happened. But yeah, no, there are no out-of-place human artifacts. And one of the ways that you can tell, actually, is that people like AIG won't touch this with a 10-foot pole, but they would love to if they could verify it, which is why it's left to people like Carl Baugh, who has even less of a crap to give about verification of his claims. So yeah, this is not a real thing.
Yeah.
This is a pretend thing. And also, a lot of claims about this also go into genocidally racist ideas about the pre-European North America. So that's also fun, right?
That's fun.
Yeah. So, so Europeans, especially English speakers, you know, largely from England, but then becoming Americans as time goes on, they come to North America and they encounter a peculiar situation. There are relatively scarce native populations, mostly as a result of smallpox, which ravaged through all of North America before English people got to the North America. So they basically arrived post-apocalypse for most North American people groups. So they're finding largely, really legitimately, largely empty lands that they're arriving to, surprised to find that relatively abundant lands are so unpeopled, which again is mostly because of a recent like 90+% death rate plague. But to be fair to them, they didn't know that, and there wasn't really a good way for them to have known that when they got there. So I'll at least give them that. But then they're seeing these remnants of many cultures living in places with evidence of rather sophisticated technology, like earthen mounds forming like city squares and burial sites and things like this. And so a lot of these stories about ancient bones and giants and whatnot was an attempt to do a couple things. One, explain how a group of people that were basically post-apocalyptic survivors that once had thriving societies but no longer did, could have built these, especially given that apparently they weren't the right race to do great giant buildings anyway, even if they weren't in a post-apocalyptic situation. And
Yeah.
also, this then allowed myths to come about how the current inhabitants of North America must have slaughtered this great race of mound and city builders, and that therefore, in displacing them, you're simply doing to them what they had done previously to other people, which helps you justify all the genocides that the United States government was doing. So, and this ties into that. It's one of the reasons why you're looking at a very, very, very old book, is because this is the kind of time when these kind of ideas would be taken at face value because they comported with everyone's biases about Native Americans and their cultures and when they were around and the things they were capable of and such things. So, I don't think that Matt is necessarily trying to bring up all that stuff. But what I do want to point out is that it is connected to that. Just like when Graham Hancock talks about Atlantis, I don't think he's doing Nazi propaganda. However, it is important to know that most of his ideas come straight out of Nazi propaganda, and that when he recommends books that have these ideas in them, they are in fact a gateway for neo-Nazis, something which neo-Nazi groups have acknowledged and thanked Graham Hancock for because he's given them new recruits.
Yeah. By the way, if anybody finds themselves in the Oklahoma City area, even if you're just driving through, we have a relatively new museum, the First Americans Museum. And if you're like, wow, I never knew that like most North American native peoples, like the vast majority of them died before European contact. This is a great place. They do a really good history of like not individual tribes, right? But of kind of covering first Americans. There's also a restaurant there that features indigenous dishes and foods, which is kind of a rare thing to find. So yeah, it's a very cool place. And it only takes it's kind of new, so they don't have a ton of exhibits, but it only takes a couple hours to like walk through. Yeah.
Every time someone says like there's going to be food at some indigenous event, I'm like, okay, but is there going to be indigenous food or is it just going to be fry bread? Because fry bread is great, but
fry bread is great,
it's not what I mean when I think of indigenous food.
Fry bread tacos are like
they are great.
So good. But that is reservation food.
Yeah.
Right. That's survival reservation.
The traditional food of the peoples of North America is not fry bread.
Right. If you want look at the Sioux chef, as in the people group, the Sioux.
SIOUX.
He has a cookbook, but there's also like 10 recipes that you can find through the New York Times that are very specific indigenous North American recipes. And he has a restaurant, but I think it's like in Minnesota. And he very specifically never serves fry bread.
Minnesota is the northernmost state in the continental United States.
Cool.
Yeah. It has a little spit of land and then a tiny little exclave that only connects to Canada that goes above the parallel that normally separates the US from Canada. And there's actually a couple towns in Minnesota that you can't drive to without going through Canada.
Amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing. Let's all move there, build a compound, and annex it to Canada.
Actually, there was a town that's now a Mexican town that was actually handed to Mexico by the United States, and then the residents there had to sue the U.S. government to be recognized as U.S. citizens, and it's because of a change of the course of the river.
Oh my god!
Basically, some people dug a canal, and that changed the course of the river. And originally, the plan was just going to be like, we'll just use the old path of the river, and then later it was like, nah, that's too much of a pain. We're going to use the new course. And it's like, then there's this whole town of people like, hey,
we're Americans.
We're Americans, you know.
What's up?
Rail got $2 for $2 says, actually, you can drive to the angle in winter. Oh, okay, over the ice, I suppose. Jaded Germanic, who's been a member for 12 months, is at the Tetrapod level, says, acorn fry bread is grand, but grinding is no joke. Yeah, I don't want to grind acorns. It sounds like a nightmare.
That sounds like a nightmare.
All right, here we go.
I guess if I got a grinding attachment, to my KitchenAid, I bet that would be okay.
Yeah.
Maybe. Okay, I'm sorry. We should listen to Raw Matthew instead of talking about literally anything that's more fun.
Right. But also, Dutch Tunicate official for $2 says you can drive to the Anglet in the winter US only. That makes sense. Over the ice, yeah. All right, here we go.
Also remember that they also found modern-day birds dating back in the Cambrian rock layers, which supposedly...
Maddie,
Mm-hmm.
he just said modern-day birds in the Cambrian rock layers. What does that title say?
That says a lower jaw from a Cretaceous parrot.
Now, I know that you're not a big geology person, right? You're more
I'm
the
not.
weather. You're the
I'm
weather
not a
woman.
geologist. I'm not a biologist. But the Cretaceous
Mhm.
is not now.
Is it also the same as the Cambrian?
No.
No.
Those
So-
are different words.
So if you said a Cambrian parrot, but the paper you're citing said a Cretaceous parrot, you'd either be really, really dumb or just lying.
Yeah. So I'd either be lying or illiterate.
Yeah. All right. So, an interesting thing is, so this right here, this is a study from, or a paper from 1998, I believe. Actually, it does say that, yeah, 5th November 1998. It's very hard to read, but it's there. So what this paper is it is a description of a mandibular symphysis, which you might be like, well, what the heck's a mandibular symphysis?
Is it a fused jawbone?
It is. It is the center line of the jawbone that is fused, and it's fused this way in a few groups of animals, one of which is birds. But
Okay.
the others of which are other groups of theropod dinosaurs.
Okay, so let me make sure I understand. So there's a fusion that happens in the jaw.
Except that
That
the front,
is
not the sides. Yeah, right there. The two sides of the mandible fuse together strongly.
fused together strongly right here. And this is fused in all birds?
At least all modern birds.
In all modern birds. And this fusion predates a differentiation from... Okay, I don't know how to say it.
I'll
But,
help you
like,
out. So
because there's like up here on the tree of life, here's like pteropods, right? Theropods. There's an
Theropods.
H. Theropods. And then some of these boys come down in here. Oh man, later in time, now we got birds, right?
that is the thing, yeah. So it's
Okay.
not basal to theropoda. It actually occurs probably independently in a few different groups of theropods. So
Okay.
it happens.
It's a derived trait in Theropoda, but it is more basal than whatever classifies birds.
Actually, it looks like it's probably basal to birds as a convergent evolution thing that happens in birds. So, but the problem
Okay.
is that just having a mandibular symphysis isn't enough to tell you that you have a bird. It's also not even enough
Okay.
to tell you that you have a modern, like an actual, like, from aves, right? Because there are other animals that a lot of times we
okay.
call birds, like enantiornithines, that have it. Some of them do.
But
Are those birds? Well, they're not parrots. They're certainly not
They're-
parts of modern groups.
they're
So-
not down here. They're in this wibbly wobbly
Yeah.
bit.
So they diverge.
Okay.
They're basal to actual aves, like the modern
Okay.
crown birds, but they're much closer to birds than they are to, say, like Velociraptor. What also occurs in Caenagnathids, which is a group of animals from North America that are very closely related to oviraptors from like Mongolia and China.
Mhm.
They're basically the North American version of the oviraptor, and they also have this mandibular symphysis. And another problem is that when the first unambiguous psittaciforms, which is actually what this paper says, it says that this is a psittaciform, not an actual parrot.
Okay.
Which is another problem, is that Ramat doesn't realize that even if this paper is absolutely 100% correct, which it has not borne out to be in the intervening like 30 years almost. So even if it were absolutely correct, it actually wouldn't be a parrot. It would be a basal psittaciform. But another problem is that when we get our first actually well-characterized, for very high confidence psittaciforms in the fossil record, they actually don't have this parrot-like mandibular symphysis. They have a mandibular symphysis, but it's a more basal, kind of basic bird jawbone.
Okay.
Which means that all things taken together, the chance of this being a parrot is low. It's much more likely to be an enantiornithine bird, some of which had jaws much like this, or a very small, perhaps juvenile Caenagnathed. And this is a situation where if you hear hoofbeats, it's probably a horse, not a zebra. And this is a paper arguing, nope, it's probably a zebra. And the basis is, well, I heard hoofbeats. And it's like, okay, maybe. I can't say it's definitely not a parrot. I guess it could be a parrot. There's nothing that really indicated that's the most likely explanation, though. There's a lot of there are at
Gotcha.
least two more likely explanations than that. And also, even if it's true that this is a Cretaceous parrot, it pushes back the origin of Psittaciformes like 15 million years, not like 250 million years like Raw Matt just implied. So, yeah.
Also, what does Ramat think this paper does he just mean is his point of this paper is what he's trying to say that I think what Ramat is trying to say is that, look, this paper says we found the jawbone of a modern parrot way earlier than we should have.
Yes.
That's what therefore flood.
Therefore, at the very least, the fossil record does not actually follow the progression that scientists say it does.
Okay.
Which is weird, since this is a scientist giving this paper, and no one is saying, well, that's impossible because of the rock layers.
That's impossible because of our anti-God bias, actually.
Yeah. Are we going to have to... So, Katie Lewis says, are we going to have to replace the Cambrian buddy with a Cretaceous parrot? Well, no, because a Cretaceous parrot would actually not be all that weird. It would be unexpected. But, I mean, it would basically mean that Psittaciformes diverged really close to like the base of Neoaves, which okay, cool. That's all that means.
So if that's your field of science, wow, so cool, groundbreaking, right? But to the general population, it's just like, oh, okay, what that fundamentally would mean is that, hey, now we better understand the evolutionary history of this particular type of bird, right? And it's different than what we originally thought. And so if all of this were true, right, this is just science doing what science does, which is continuously updating itself. And again, the consequence wouldn't be therefore
evolution is
parrots fake. Yeah, evolution is fake, or therefore humans with parrots on their shoulders walked alongside dinosaurs, right? It would just mean that parrots are older than we thought.
And it wouldn't even necessarily mean parrots. It would just mean the large group, which includes parrots as well as several other different groups of birds, started earlier than we would have expected.
We evolved from dinosaurs. It's a total mess.
Okay, so it's hard to hear there, but he said even though they say that birds evolved from dinosaurs, nothing about a Cretaceous bird is a problem for birds evolving from dinosaurs. Our first dinosaurs show up in the Triassic. Our first animals that anyone calls a bird, I don't like to call them birds, but I'm weird that way. They'll show up in the Jurassic. Our first true birds, like crown aves, might be there by the end of the Jurassic, but probably by the middle of the Cretaceous. There's no mid-Cretaceous, it's only early and late, but towards the middle of that period is probably where we get our first crown birds. And that's not a problem at all. It's like, oh man, did you know that the earliest human fossils were found alongside things like bears and not bears, but things like lions and giraffes, even though people say that humans evolved from mammals? It's like, and
what would be a piece of evidence that would be absolutely insane and scientists wouldn't know what to do with it would be a Cambrian bunny, or if this bird, right, jaw was found, say, in the Appalachian Mountains, right, where there's nothing that's before bones, right? Like that rock formed before bones existed, right? That would be wild. That would be crazy.
Yeah.
But again, the worst case scenario for evolution here, there's no worst case scenario because it's just we're refining our timeline for this particular taxa.
Taxon is the singular.
Taxon.
Maddie. Come on, Maddie. Don't you know Greek?
No.
Oh, Maddie. How could you?
I can recognize certain Greek letters because theta is potential temperature, but if I see a theta, I read potential temperature.
Fair. All right, here we go.
Also consider that many of the biggest dinosaurs, such as the long-necked sauropods like Brachiosaurus, Titanosaurus, and Apatosaurus, would have eaten colossal amounts of vegetation. So why do we...
Oh, hey, that's true, which is one of the things I didn't
That's
mention. If we get
true.
something right, we take a drink. So take a drink, I
That's
guess.
true.
They would indeed have eaten colossal amounts of vegetation. I will accept that as an accurate statement.
not find
Factual,
such
yeah.
abundance of these plants in the rocks containing these dinosaur fossils? Take, for example, the Morrison Formation in Montana. Even though this formation had yielded many dinosaur fossils, they're very scarce in vegetation.
Okay, so a couple things.
Yeah, trees, leaves are soft.
Yeah, plants actually don't fossilize as well as bone, because bone is already a rock, right? It's hydroxyapatite.
Yeah.
It's already a rock. So there's that. There's that problem there. Second, we do actually have plant fossils, because one of the things that you'll notice that isn't listed here, because it says, oh, it's the Morrison Formation is lacking grasses, flowering plants, and trees. Yeah, that's because flowering plants and grasses hadn't evolved yet, and it's a dry, arid environment. But you know what we do have there is cycads and ferns, which are plants that you could eat if you were a plant-eating animal. And also, we have reason to suspect, because we have trackways of entire herds of sauropods, that sauropods probably migrated around. And so chances are that they were going from one place with lots of plants to other places, and that the area that we see preserved, which is sort of a semi-desert area in the Morrison Formation, that could have actually just been an area that they were transiting through and occasionally dying in, because animals die sometimes while migrating. So that's a possibility.
And an
also,
arid environment is more conducive to a fossilization process.
It often is, yeah.
And also, again, I'm just going to say this one more time, ferns, soft.
Yep. Also, one of the reasons there might not have been trees is because the sauropods.
Did they eat them all?
Yeah, so actually there are areas in Africa today that are kept unforested, not because trees can't grow there, but because elephants knock over trees.
Amazing.
Yep. And so they keep the area while being a grassland instead of a forest, just because they knock over the trees. And there's a very high chance that something similar would have been happening in the Morrison Formation, where sauropods are just like, oh, hey, look, a tender tree. Let me knock it over and eat it.
Nom, 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 nom.
I mean, eat the leaves from it, but still, that you just don't get a big old tree right there.
I mean, what if it was a nice, juicy little sapling?
It sounds delicious.
You could gnaw on that forever.
Well,
nom, nom, nom. Big stick.
They don't have molars, so they can't really gnaw. They just strip leaves and then swallow it, and then they have a gizzard full of rocks.
Oh, okay, that grinds.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Also, I will just posit that urge to carry a big stick is very deep in our evolutionary history. It seems shared. It's shared with dogs. It's big stick good. Anyway.
This phenomenon of missing vegetation doesn't just apply to dinosaurs.
It doesn't apply to anything.
Yeah.
Matt, you made this up.
You made this up, yeah. Like, because missing specific types of vegetation is not the same as missing vegetation.
Yeah. And also that you can cherry pick some geological formations that have low abundance of vegetation fossils isn't the same thing as the fossil record just broadly lacking vegetation. Those aren't the same thing.
That's not the same thing.
For their rock layers. The Coconino Sandstone in the Grand Canyon has many animal trackways, but it's almost devoid of plants.
The Coconino Sandstone is the remnants of a desert. So here's a fun thing about deserts. They produce lots of...
Why doesn't your desert have a lush forest?
Well, because most trees can't grow very well, and even the ones that can have to be pretty well spaced apart in order to get enough water, especially since non-tree plants take up so much of the water. Things like barrel cactus, prickly pear cactus, cholla, saguaro, Oregon cactus, things like that. And all of those are made of mostly non-woody material, so when they die, they're even less likely to fossilize.
Wild.
Yeah.
Also, I just wanted you to say, because a forest isn't a desert, Maddie.
I went more in depth.
You did go more in depth.
Yeah. So Also, here's a fun fact that we've talked about before. Footprints are a lot easier to leave behind than body fossils because, Maddie,
That's true.
how many steps have you taken?
So many, but my step counter tells me not enough.
Okay, but how compared to the number of bodies you've had?
Okay, so I have one body,
Okay.
and I take on average something like 3,000 steps a day. And I've done that every day. Well, I guess I didn't do that when I was a baby and couldn't walk.
We'll average it out and say it's probably about every day.
Okay.
Because there have also been some days
Okay.
where you had like excursions of high step counts.
That's true. Sometimes you have to do watch tours at 3 a.m.
Right.
And talk to the deer. So, hold on. I'm gonna let's do it. Let's do. That's a stopwatch. That's not a calculator. Let's do 3,000 times 365 days.
Now Maddie's going to reveal her age.
How old I am.
Ah, there we go. People can do the math, you know.
Which is a little over 39 million.
Okay, so let's say that, like, I don't know, maybe 1 in a million of your steps have a chance of becoming a fossil.
Yeah.
So that means that you could have
Great.
left a trail of about
Like
40
39.
steps or 39
Yeah.
steps. Yeah, 30 to 40. We'll call it
That's
30 to
great.
40 steps.
30 to 40.
There we go.
So good.
Now, if the chances of your body becoming a fossil are about
Yeah.
1 in a million, chances are you won't leave behind a body fossil.
That's true. That's true. Statistically, there would be like 4 body fossils in my whole state.
Right.
Right? And Oklahoma, big.
For humans, at least.
For humans. Yeah.
Yeah. So, can we see why it is that it's not super surprising that in a desert where it occasionally rains, and we know that it rained in the Coconino Sandstone because we have preserved raindrops in the Coconino Sandstone, something you can't get under a flood, by the way. So is it really surprising that we don't have a lot of body fossils of organisms generally, but we do have a fair few footprints? I think that's reasonable. That seems like it makes sense.
That makes sense to me. Yeah.
Dutch Tunicate Official for $5 says, fun fact, there are some fairly dry forests in the Yukon. Also, AIG or a bag of Kents will take a drink. Ah, the Yukon.
Cheers.
There's some place I never need to visit, ever. I just don't need to. Other people can be there. I don't need to go there. Don't get me wrong.
Is it too cold?
Yeah, it's too cold. It's too desolate. There's just nothing for me that I would want to go do or see. There are places in Canada that I have been to and that I really like, and the other places that I would like to go to. Yukon just isn't one of them. Same thing with Northwest Territories, Nunavut. Basically, I don't need to be any of those places. Or Alaska, for that matter. I don't need to go to Alaska either.
Man, I've been to Alaska, and I think just breathing the air there added like 10 years to my life.
That does sound nice. I do have family in Alaska.
Yeah.
Actually, one of my first cousins once removed came within seconds of freezing to death out in Alaska.
Oh no!
Yeah, so
That's no good.
his truck didn't start, and he wasn't completely bundled up like he should have been because he was just transiting between his truck and the house, or going from the house to the truck.
Yeah.
But then his I think it was his snow pants or whatever got caught on something under the truck.
Oh no!
And my cousin, his mom, came out to find him, and he probably had about 40 seconds before he started to get eye frostbite.
Ah!
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Ah!
Yeah.
I don't like that.
No.
I don't.
Yeah.
That's upsetting.
Of course, my cousin would always call my mom because they're actually similar in age, even though my mom's her aunt. But she would call to brag whenever it was warmer at her house than it was at our house, which did happen occasionally, not often, but it did happen.
Yeah,
and we know it happened because she would call, because she would be keeping track.
Amazing.
Yeah, she and my mom were pretty good friends because, again, they were almost the same age. Because when my mom was born, her oldest sister had already moved out and started a family.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's a huge age gap there.
Some of my little cousins graduated high school this weekend, and these are actually my first cousin's kids. These are my first cousin once removed. But these two girls were both born my senior year of high school. So like I met them at my high school graduation, right? And they just graduated high school. They were also both my flower girls in my wedding. When they were so little. And now they're going to college and being big girls.
Yeah. All right.
Anyway, that
These rocks tell us something profound about Earth's history.
That's technically true, Matt.
What?
They do. They just don't tell us what
Technically
you think.
true. Amazing. Tell me.
Interesting.
Oh, hey, Dapper, I know what we can do if we reach our super chat goal.
Okay.
I've been playing Pokemon White because I figured out a Game Boy DS emulator I could download to my phone, and that's what I've been playing while I have been ill. And I don't know nearly enough about Pokemon White because my Pokemon knowledge is really like just first gen. So you guys could help me build my team, help me decide my final team.
I'm not.
Yeah.
I don't know the degree to which my audience is familiar with that game because I'm not very. Because my knowledge
okay.
of Pokemon extends into the second generation, but around the third generation, I start to kind of drop
Okay.
off.
This is Gen 5, and right now I'm mostly filling my team with types that didn't exist in Gen 1 because I think it's fun.
That's fair.
Yeah.
They suggest that these deposits laid down are not ecosystems buried over eons of time.
No, it doesn't mean any of that.
No, it doesn't mean any of that, friends.
Okay, so
In fact, that's exactly what the data suggest. The data suggest
so let's see what we have here.
that
in
these are
terms of labels.
ecosystems laid out over time.
Our top
Okay,
left
cool.
label is a fossil of fish that were flattened to paper thickness by the weight of sediments that buried them instantly. Okay, so a few things. One, there are a lot of very, very flattened fossils. But you don't need to be buried instantly to be flattened, because we talked about this last time, right? A big part of the process of turning sediment into sedimentary rock is compaction, right? The grains have to be pushed together and the water squeezed out. And that primarily happens because of the weight of the sediment and rock above it, which means if you're a little fish in the sediment, while it's getting squeezed to be about 1/10 of its original thickness, your fishness is also going to get squeezed. You're going to get compressed. Most fossils are compressed. That's just how it works. That's just how lithification works. It's 3D fossils that are the exception. And none of it implies instant burial, because you get flattened just as well if it happens slowly. Roshina for 199 says, what's a generation in Pocket Monsters? So basically, when the mainline Pokemon games are released, they're usually released as a trio or a pair of games that have, each one has a subset of the total Pokemon for that group of games. And they pair together, and they usually have the same mechanics and the same basic plot line. And the only big difference is usually which Pokemon are available. And only some of the Pokemon are exclusive to one or the other. And each time this happens, a large number of Pokemon are added to the total roster of all Pokemon. And so each set of these games is considered to be a generation. So like Red and Blue were the first generation, and also Green if you were in Japan. And Yellow later was released as a Gen 1 game, where you started with Pikachu instead of getting to choose from the normal 3 starters. So that all those games had a set of 151 Pokemon. And then Generation 2 came in, and it added, I think, another 100 Pokemon and a new set of games which had the same plot lines and the same mechanics and everything. So that's what a generation is in Pocket Monsters. Okay. Mammoth instantly frozen when the temperature dropped to -100°C. There is just no evidence of this. This is just a thing that Kent Hovind says. And he has never provided a source. And the only argument he's used in support of this is that some mammoths have been found with plant matter in their mouth or guts. Which, okay.
Doesn't that just mean like they died with those? That doesn't mean they froze.
Right.
And you can die and then freeze.
Right. Yep. And if it's freezing out, you're not going to do a whole lot of digesting or anything. And also, plant matter digests slowly anyway. So if you just ate a bunch of flowers, they're probably going to stay more or less intact for hours and hours and hours. And if it's cold out, but not 100 degrees, but cold enough to freeze a mammoth anyway, yeah. Also, of course, he never cites these examples that he talks about. So yeah, this is just a Kent Hovindism that Ramat is uncritically repeating. Polystrate fossils of trees buried vertically in sediments, some buried upside down. So first of all, I am not aware of any vertical trees that have been buried upside down. But another thing is, a lot of these are from the petrified forest, which I believe is what we're looking at here. And those aren't just fossilized vertically. They're fossilized in situ, because they lived in wetlands that had periodic flooding every few decades, and also existed at a time when nothing could digest lignin, which is the main structural protein in wood. which means trees lasted longer. And trees can already last dead for decades anyway, even in a world now where we have lignin-eating bacteria and lignin-eating insects for that matter. Although the insects actually use bacteria to digest the lignin. But either way, you get what I mean, right? So no, these are not polystrate. They're just vertical fossils that have survived as physical structures while dead for a few decades as they were covered by repeated floods. And also, these areas have soil. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was gonna ask it. So what's happening here? Like, I see that these are different, like, layer. Am I back? Am I
No.
here? Oh dear. Oh wait. Like, you disconnected from YouTube, or I can't be seen or heard?
All right. We're I think we're back. Sorry about that, everybody. My bitrate dropped to 0.
Oh, that's so fun.
Yeah, but we're back.
Um,
Goop23 for $2 says lignin my AIG. I'll take a drink for that.
That's really good. So the point I want to be clear with these fossilized trees
Oh,
or petrified
we're
trees.
gone again. Hold on. I'm gonna stop streaming
Oh,
and start
okay.
back up again.
Okay, I'm gonna get some hot water. I'll be right back.
All right. That persists. Maddie is off to go get some hot water. So I will continue on. So another thing that we have in these quote unquote polystrate fossils is we have multiple Paleosol horizons. Now, Paleosol is kind of what it sounds like. It's an ancient soil. So these are fossilized soil bits. And I'm watching my my bit rate here. I am dropping a lot of frames. This is disturbing. But I'm going to power through it and see what happens. So it takes decades for soils to form. It's not a quick thing. And it takes decades of actual stable and environmental conditions. You can't form multiple soil horizons under a single flood in a single year. So these are absolutely cannot be something that formed in a single year. They're not polystrate. They can't have formed that rapidly. Yeah, so fossils of giant clams. So first of all, what is being pictured here are not clams. Those are concretions, which is where so in a sedimentary formation, sometimes something can form the nucleus of a harder rock that will collect around it, sort of like the little grain of sand that starts to form a pearl around it in a clam or oyster, I suppose, whatever. Obviously, it's not actually a pearl, but it's the same basic idea. Harder bits of rock accumulate around some single structure in the middle. Sometimes it can be another rock. Sometimes it can actually be a fossil. A lot of times, if you break open a concretion, you'll find a fossil at the center. But yeah, those are concretions. So also, most of the seashells that we're finding at the top of Mount Everest are actually brachiopods, not clams. So also, this is not a picture from the top of Mount Everest. You might be able to tell because that's not what the top of Mount Everest looks like. It's not a plain covered in grass with no snow and a bunch of large concretions. So yeah, that's not what's there. And also, the reason that Mount Everest has clams is because Mount Everest is made of seafloor strata that were pushed up when the Indian continent collided with the Eurasian plate, or the Indian subcontinent. That plate collided with the Eurasian plate, and it pushed the sediment up. And that's actually also how catastrophic plate tectonics works. So that's generally how most creationists would think that it was formed, which means that the fact that there are ocean fossils at the top of a mountain that was formed by seafloor being pushed up is not particularly good evidence for a global flood, because continents move around regardless of there being a global flood. So, yeah.
Otherwise, we'd.
And I'm back at 0. Well, everyone, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go do a quick break. I'll refresh my drink. We'll come back and we'll see how the internet's going, because it's kind of iffy right now. So enjoy what little of this break you can hear, and I will be back. Okay, we are back, and I asked Bent to check the stream out, and he said that it looked like it was doing good. I'm looking at my upload rate, and it looks pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and say that there was probably some kind of weird hiccup on YouTube server side, which does happen from time to time. Stream status right now says good here in the YouTube studio, so I think we're okay for now. So I will do the after the break bit, which is to say this channel is supported almost entirely through the direct support of viewers and chat and things like that. So whether it be through super chats, memberships, gifted memberships, super thanks, going to the Patreon, things like that. Those are how I am able to keep doing this, because it is a precarious thing to be doing, especially for a small channel like mine. And yet I have been consistently in the black for, I think, all but 1 or 2 months for years now. So I want to say, first of all, thank you so much to everyone who has helped with that. You guys are amazing, and I wouldn't be able to do this without you. And if you are currently someone who would like to support, or would like to support more, and importantly, who can afford it, that's an important part. I don't want money you can't afford. I'm not asking you to tithe your cumin and mint. I'm asking you to perhaps toss a little bit of your entertainment budget. There are a few ways to help with that. Obviously, super chatting and memberships and all of those are huge, and they really help. But also, there's the Patreon. It's linked in the description. There's the channel memberships below this. Those are both monthly or annual ways that you can help out, and they will basically make it easier for me to budget, as well as help me out. So that's a really important thing. They both get you early access to videos. I just put one out earlier this week. I'm hoping to have one out hopefully early next week. Let's see. There's also the Discord server, where I think it's a great place. I'm not going to say it's a perfect place, but like, we have a lot of fun there. There are a lot of pictures of people's pets. You can find cats, dogs, lizards, occasional turtles, all sorts of stuff like that if you like pet pictures. There's memes. There's sections for various kinds of things, like there's a video game section. There's several TTRPG channels for various TTRPG stuff. There's some stuff for like media fandoms that come up in the server a lot. So we have a section for Star Trek. We have a section for Warhammer. We have a section for Power Rangers. So yeah, it's a fun place. And if, an annual or a monthly subscription isn't your deal, there's always, given some super chats. There's also some merch linked in the description. I don't really make very much money on that. I think when people buy a t-shirt, I make a couple bucks. But like, it's also fun to see people wearing my merch and like taking a picture of like the merch that they bought. It's fun to see my stuff out in the real world. So yeah. There's also a Throne wish list linked in the description. If you want to go buy me something, there's stuff there. Like there's a gift card to order food. There's snacks, some toys, books, things like that. And by toys, I mean like, there's like some miniatures on there. There's a thurible. There's a Warhammer 40k themed thurible, so that I can, sense all my mechanical stuff, so that the machine spirits don't get angry at me. So yeah, if you want to help me pretend to be a cult mechanicus priest who is making sure that the machine spirits stay safe, which, by the way, I don't know if you know, I've been having a really bad luck with my machine spirits lately. Like, the machine spirit of my cogitator has just decided to stop allowing me to get my work done, and I now have to have a new mini cogitator, a laptop cogitator, if you will. So yeah, it's been a little bit of a nightmare on the tech front. Roshna for $4.99 says, you should hear Kent Hoven's explanation for why volcanoes and mountains are near coasts, especially along the Pacific Ocean. No, I won't be explaining. Oh no, I'm going to have to get to it at some point. Oh, yeah. Kent with Bent, here we come. All right, Lieutenant Matt the Navigator gifted 10 Dapper Dinosaur memberships. I'm going to take my 10 drinks after I read this membership chat from Maddie, who says, woo, being a member is so cool. Everyone should do it. Godzilla, Mothra, and we've got a little Carmen in there.
So while Dapper takes his 10 drinks, because I did mine while he was doing the
actually, it's 11 now, but yeah.
Portion. Yes, well, I'm going to take my 11th drink. I need you all to know that several months ago, I was doing my membership milestone chat to get a drink, to do a drink trigger, because we were doing raw mat, and I mistook I mistook Carmen for another kaiju because my knowledge of kaijus is very limited. And now I will always include Carmen as a kaiju in my world, in my headcanon, and so I'll do that. And somebody asked me what I'm making, so I'll show off again. This is, I'm doing a series of the Stations of the Cross, which is, for people who don't know what that is, that's 14 stations that tells this, and they're like visual images that tells the story from like Christ is convicted to buried in the tomb, right? So it's like a, and it's supposed to, you're supposed to like reflect on his suffering.
The
as
Western
you go
Christian
through each of the
devotional
stations.
practice.
Yeah. And so I am doing a series. This is the third one, which is Jesus Falls the First Time. So I'm doing a series of the Stations of the Cross using images of people who are being harmed by the American regime. So that's what I'm working on. I really like this one. It's very purpley, and I'm using color changing purple. Also, if anybody knows where I can get Loops and Threads brand embroidery floss that I can just buy the color changing purple, let me know. Because so far I only find them in 36 skein multi-packs that are $7 for each pack, but each pack only has 2 purple ones in it. And I can't, because I was dumb and I just pulled this out of my stash because I was like, it's pretty. And then I realized it was Loops and Thread and not DMC, and you can't buy Loops and Thread as individual skeins, which are like 75 cents instead of I paid $7 for 2, right? Like I'm annoyed by it. I know, and I'm using a lot because it looks cool.
It does look cool.
Look, it looks really cool.
So, by the way, I did not mention Sheepit, but Borg Emporia reminded me. So if you would like to help support in a way that is not actually just directly financially sending me the help there, but that helps me get my videos out nonetheless, I use a render farm for my animations called Sheepit. The way Sheepit works is when I render for them, they give me points, and then when I need frames rendered, the frames cost points, and also how high priority my frames are depend on how many points I had when I started the project, when I uploaded it to them. So there are instructions in the description. If you want to help me with that, basically you download the client, you use the login information in the description, and that will tell Sheepit that you are rendering as me, but the password there is actually a key that will not give you access to my account. So you can't add projects, you can't delete projects, or you can't change my profile or delete my account or anything like that. So that basically will cost you about as much money as it does to run a video game for that amount of time, because it uses up a lot of GPU power usually. So Jillian Wren says, tell Maddie to message me and we can figure out a plan to split a set if she wants to.
Okay. Borg Emporia says I can go to get it at Ferenginar.
You can get anything at Ferenginar.
Yeah.
Actually, I was playing was Darktide this weekend, and my team had a Zek, a Damon, and I was Brunt FCA, Ferengi Commerce Alliance. So three of the 4 people on the team had very Ferengi names. It was fun.
I love the exploration of Ferengi culture in Deep Space Nine. I didn't appreciate it my first watch through because I was younger and I just wanted
Yeah.
What did I just? I'm sorry.
That's
I just wanted fun space adventures.
And instead you got war trauma and PTSD.
And I got yeah.
Yep.
It's a But DS9 hitting right now, man. I'm in.
God damn, is it ever?
6.
Like, hey, can we have a Bell Riot or 2, please? It'd be nice.
Oh, man.
All
I,
right.
like, wept
Here we go.
when I hit the Bell Riot episodes. Yeah.
Find more evidence as plants that the animals ate. Instead, the evidence fits nicely with the biblical model of early Earth's history, whereas these animals were transported and buried catastrophically during Noah's flood.
There's actually not very good evidence for most animals having been transported catastrophically. It does happen, right? We do have flood deposits. But yeah, that's not characteristic of the fossil record as a whole.
Geologists have assumed and say that calm weather conditions are required for these settling processes to occur to form mudstone. Therefore, whenever they encounter mud deposits, they interpret them as forming in tranquil water environments.
Matt, it's not just that they say that. It's that there are this thing that people have done called sedimentation experiments, right? Where you just take a bunch of sediment, you mix it up in some water, and you see how it deposits physically. You can just watch it happen. We don't have to guess, right? We know. And if you want to say that sediment was deposited in a manner that is so far unprecedented, then it's on you to precedent it. And to be fair, it is a time for new precedents, Matt. So go get it. I can't go a single day without hearing the word unprecedented. So you know what? Give me some unprecedented sedimentation experiments. Let's go.
Let's go.
Of course he won't, though, because it's much easier to just lie than it is to actually get your hands dirty doing experiments and doing science.
It sure is.
However, recent research published in the prestigious Journal of Science has turned this argument on its head.
Ooh.
The researchers showed that mud deposits form from rapidly flowing water. Yet,
no, actually, I remember this, although I don't remember the exact title of the paper. What was shown was that some types of grain can rapidly fall out of suspension if a rapid flow of water is suddenly arrested. But the problem is, a sudden arresting of rapid floodwaters doesn't describe any flood model. So it doesn't help.
Yeah.
Right? Like, the Noah's flood didn't hit a brick wall at some point and then drop the sediment there. That's not a thing that happened. At least not according to any flood model I'm aware of. So it is the case that there have been some experiments that show that rapidly flowing water can carry sediment to a location and then rapidly deposit it. When the water stops, that doesn't describe the flood well, so who cares?
Whoa.
again, evolutionary theory fails when put to the test, and we have more evidence for a global flood.
Matt, even if that were compatible with a global flood, which is really not,
Yeah.
a fact that is compatible with a global flood is not evidence against evolution.
I also love this, the geologic column debunked.
While we're staring at it?
While we're looking at the like the fact that there exists, rocks exist in strata.
Mm-hmm. Yep,
That's
it's
it.
right there. That's
It's just right there.
Yeah.
So what do you mean?
It's like
Oh my
it's like
gosh.
when a southern hemisphere flat earther denies the southern celestial pole. Like what? It's right there.
Yeah.
You can just go look. What are you talking
You could go
about?
look at it.
It's right.
Actually.
It's in front of your face. My Unfinished Journey for $6.66 says, "Hail Nero, hail Daps and Maddie, and hail the precedented sedimentation with the
Sedimentation.
fist emoji." Thank you very much.
Evolutionary geologists claim that the Grand Canyon is the
Evolutionary geologist is one of the weirdest things I've ever
Geologist.
heard.
Can I just drink for that?
Yeah,
for that,
sure. That's dumb.
that combination of words. That's a very dumb combo.
Maddie, are you an evolutionary meteorologist?
No, I don't even know what that means.
Exactly.
Yeah,
There's one kind of thing that usually gets the word evolutionary stuck in front of it, and it's biologist.
Biologist.
Yeah, and by thing I mean one kind of scientist, right? Yeah, evolutionary biologist is pretty much the only kind of scientist that normally gets the word evolutionary stuck in front of it. Lieutenant Matt the Navigator, there we go, for $5 says, "Ah, yes, the geologic column. We have dismissed that claim." Yes, just
And to be clear, evolutionary biologist, like the word evolutionary is being used to qualify what type of biology you do,
right,
as opposed to like a
like a faction.
Yeah. Well, no, but I mean, like, yeah. So it's not that there are evolutionary scientists and non-evolutionary scientists, like people who believe and don't believe, but it's like there are biologists who study evolution, and there are biologists who study microcellular processing, right? Like
Yeah.
I'm a because you could say like I'm a microcellular biologist. That doesn't mean that you don't like accept the preponderance of evidence that supports evolution, what that means is that that's not your specific field of research.
Right.
So I am a meteorologist. I am specifically at the moment doing boundary layer meteorology. That doesn't mean I don't believe in tornadoes, right? Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's the kind of profession, not like the broad ideological. It's not like saying, oh, this is a Catholic monk and that's a Buddhist monk, where they're entirely different kinds of things that are only kind of similar, and they believe totally different stuff about the world. I'm like, no, that's not what's happening.
Right. It's like, this is a Catholic priest and this is a Catholic monk, right? Like,
right. Yeah, you're both Catholics. You're just doing slightly different kinds of Catholicism.
Right. Yeah, your job in Catholicism is different.
Yep.
This is a way to differentiate what type of job biologists do.
Although many monks are also priests, Maddie.
Oh, sure.
I'm just being a pedantic asshole. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, it was a good analogy, Dapper.
I agree. Like I said, I was just being a pedantic asshole. Lieutenant Matt the Navigator for $5 says, today I learned that sapphires are formed by sexual selection. That sounds wrong.
That sounds wrong. I mean, I need more data.
Mm-hmm.
More data, please.
Be more specific to
Be more
give Maddie a
specific.
flashback.
Yeah. Ugh. But I have to say that so in Navy land you grade using these like acronyms, right? So like BMS is be more specific, or just M for more, ME is math error, right? And I've had to break myself of the habit of writing those when I grade, because I still think in that it's like, oh, you made a gross concept error, this is, you just need more, right? Blah blah blah, right? I still kind of think in those acronyms. But my students don't like it when I use them.
I can, as a hint,
Yeah.
neither did your Navy students. They just didn't have a
Neither
choice
did
about it.
Yeah, it did just let us grade faster, and there were a lot of you, and we weren't allowed to leave the building until your tests were graded. So
Yeah, I mean, I get it.
yeah. I'm allowed to leave. I'm allowed to take 2 days to grade tests now, Dapper. It's wild.
Wow. And you don't have to stay
I
inside
know.
the building until it's done?
Correct.
Is that because the tests aren't at all classified? Not even in the stupid way that they were classified in nuke school?
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
The tests just exist on my hard drive. Wild. I don't even have a secure
leak.
locker for them.
They could
be
man.
leak.
Oh my god. Security risk here. Roshina for $1.99 says tornadoes are a left plot. That's true. Tornadoes are woke,
Yeah.
actually. That's why
Tornadoes are
meteorology
woke.
went broke. It's because it was too woke. That's what happened. That's why there's no more
Yep.
funding.
Yeah, our mission of preservation of life and property was to
Well, I mean, you were also preserving...
DEI.
Yeah, it's DEI, because you were also preserving the life and property of, like, racial minorities or queer people. We can't have that. Only cisgendered, straight, white Christians deserve to have their life and property preserved, Maddie. Otherwise, it's woke.
Otherwise, it's woke.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's how it works. My unfinished Sock for $5 says, don't butcher stratigraphy, like and share the stream instead. Yes, please do that. And then for another $5, Lieutenant Matt the Navigator says, speaking of sexual selection, can Maddie keep the rain out of Western Pennsylvania on Sunday for our wedding? Maddie, do you have access to the weather machine that day?
I don't. You've got to give me way more heads up, Matt, because I used my weather machine like points for the year for my sister's wedding. So I'm sorry.
I mean, I did see pics, and it was very nice looking.
It was very nice. Yeah, I was the officiant. I am. If anybody needs someone to marry them, I am a minister of the Church of Nome. I have a hat. You can choose to have me wear or not wear the hat if I am performing your wedding.
I feel
and
like,
also, yes,
why would anyone ever choose
congratulations,
not?
Lieutenant Matt the Navigator.
Yes, congratulations.
My sister didn't want me to wear the hat
What?
During the ceremony. I know, wild. Wild. I don't understand.
I find that disappointing. You can tell your sister that I'm very disappointed. She will care.
I will.
Yeah.
She will care.
Oh no, the internet dinosaur is disappointed in my wedding. What will I do? And the answer is have a second ceremony. People do that.
That's true. My sister is so not terminally online. Like, she's such a normal person.
Honestly, good for her.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. I'm going to hit play.
Best and most complete geologic column on Earth. In the Canadian Museum of Nature in Ontario, Canada, there displays a massive diagram of the entire Grand Canyon.
It's a very weird sentence, but okay, sure, we'll just go
Yeah,
with it.
sure.
Their displays a very large diagram is not a normal person sentence, but okay.
That's true. This museum has a cool diorama of the Grand Canyon.
That would be a more normal
And
sentence.
And it real big.
I mean, it does look very, very cool.
It does look cool.
Canada has some really great museums that I need to get to. The only Canadian museums that I've been to that I can remember are I've been to the Musée des Beaux-Arts in Montreal, and I've been to what is it, the Royal British Columbia Museum in Vancouver. And those are like the only 2 Canadian museums I've been to, and there's so many other ones that are really cool that I really want to go to. Not least of all, the Royal Tyrrell Museum. That's a top-notch paleontology museum right there. But anyway,
Is that because Canada has science funding?
I mean, it's not the only reason.
Oh, okay. Like, I guess the U.S. has nice museums. It's just like,
For now, it does.
yeah.
Actually,
just-
a museum. So, I grew up in a town called Lowell in Massachusetts, which is not new information I'm revealing here. I actually talked about it on the Drunk Debunk show when I was on because he lives in that town. And
nice.
we have one of the few national historical parks there, the Lowell Industrial Historical Park or something like that, right? Because basically,
Cool.
Lowell is the location of the first industrial factories in the United States.
Oh, okay.
And they were textile factories. And until recently, they had signage about the working conditions that the predominantly poor women, sometimes women of color, although also it was mostly white rural women who had been living on farms, the working conditions, which were not great. There was no OSHA. Pay was not very good. There were no like safety guards on like the fast moving machinery that did not stop for hands or feet or anything. And so, people often lost digits, lost limbs, sometimes died. And there used to be signage about this. But then recently it was decided that nope. That's too anti-American.
That's woke.
That's woke actually. Remembering the poor rural women who lost their limbs or lives working in the first factories in America, we don't want to recognize that.
Let's be clear, who lost their limbs or lives on the altar of capitalism, right? Like,
we don't want to talk about them.
We don't want to talk about them.
Mm-mm. Oh, and also children. It turns out though that children have small hands, so they can reach into the dangerous machinery more easily.
Yeah.
And so they were literally hired to do things like that. But you wouldn't know it now, because apparently that signage got removed.
Great.
So.
I read somewhere, and I don't remember where it was, but at the time I trusted the source, that was talking about the right's obsession with falling birth rates.
Yeah, they're very concerned about that.
And how, actually, if you really want to make sure birth rates go up, the thing to do is get children in the workplace. There's nothing that encourages people to have more kids, apparently.
Than financial exploitation of children?
Than financial exploitation of children, or than being dependent on your child's wages to help feed your family.
I mean, I guess technically that would probably work.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure that that's the solution that we want. It used to not be a very big deal if the U.S. had a declining birth rate, because up until last year, the United States had more immigration than emigration for like a century. And then that changed in 2025. And also, the number of people renouncing citizenship has apparently gone up a few orders of magnitude.
Can't imagine why.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll hit play.
Layer by layer. Within it shows huge breaks in time. 480 million years are missing between the basement and the Precambrian rocks.
I think the only reason he's couching this in this particular museum's display is because these are his pictures from when he went there.
Probably. And it is nice to see the whole Grand Canyon, like it being scaled down so you can see the whole thing at once is helpful.
Yeah, and it's a really cool display, and it looks like a nice museum.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I think that what happened is this is one of those I was there and I had the pictures, and that's not a criticism. That's just I think why we're getting this context.
I
But
think he's trying to
yeah.
be like, they're missing all this data and they're lying to you about it.
Probably.
Right? That's probably what he's saying, because he's being, excuse me for like vocalizing the drums in the background, because it's kind of sinister music.
Well, to be fair, he's had that same soundtrack on a loop for pretty much the entire hour or so. So, like, I don't know if that's a conscious choice.
That's
there.
fair. That's an earbug, earwig at this point. Boom.
330 million years are missing between the Unkar-Nankawit and the Chuar Formation. Somehow came and left without a trace.
Erosion.
Well, yeah, the answer is just erosion, but also, what was the subject of the came and left verbs there? Because he said between these formations,
there's
came
this
and
amount of time.
Came and went. He said like there's this much time between these formations. Then he said came and went. So I guess it's the time that came and went. That's the subject of that verb.
I mean, obviously he means rocks made in that time.
Yeah,
but...
Matt. Look, dude, this is not even on the off chance you watch this, which I do know that Raw Matt has watched my videos before.
Yeah.
Matt, if you watch this is not a criticism of your ideas. This is not a criticism of your religious faith. This is not a criticism of your moral character. But my guy, I need you to take like a remedial English course to just become better at expressing the ideas that you have in clear English.
I will pay for it.
There you go. Maddie will pay for it.
I will pay for it. It can be I take a speech or rhetoric class from a accredited university of your choosing.
I'm pretty sure these guys live in like the little like peninsula part of Ontario that swings down into like the Great Lakes, right?
Yeah.
Because I know that at least at some point, Donnie lived in like the Windsor area, which is like right across the river from the U.S. So I'm pretty sure that's a relatively well-populated, like densely populated part of Canada. I'm pretty sure that somewhere there you can find some adult education classes on English, right? Like learn to diagram a sentence, learn about like the parts of speech, like what kinds of things do you need to make a sentence to make sense. Just go do that.
Yeah.
Maddie will pay.
I sure. Also, Arizona State University, ASU for you, has free online courses. You can take as many as you want. Look, here's writing composition right there. I'm looking at it. Y'all can't see it. And here's the thing. You can do it the full class for free, right? And if you choose, you can pay dollars after you've taken it to put that on a Arizona State University transcript, right, to get a grade, right? But you don't have to pay a dime to take any of those ASU for you classes. Anywho, that's an option. Again, if you want to take it through like Liberty University, I don't care, because their speech and or rhetoric is going to be accredited, right? Like,
yep.
Just get better at putting your thoughts together, because I spend a lot of time trying to decipher what you mean, and it's driving me nuts.
Same. Roshna for 199 says, came and went, then looks like an M dash. Dorohedoro. I don't know what that means, but thank you.
I know it's an anime reference.
Oh, I didn't know that. See, people think that I watch a lot of anime, and I watch almost none. Almost none.
I watch very little. I get the came and went pun. I understand this.
Oh.
Right?
But yeah, I get people who are just like make up an anime reference and are like, oh, you haven't seen, and then they'll list the anime. I was like, nope, I haven't seen it.
No.
If you think of an anime, then there's a very high chance that I just haven't seen any of it. I haven't seen any Bleach. I haven't seen any One Piece. I haven't seen any. I think I've seen one episode of Demon Hunter. Nice. I think I've seen like 3 episodes of Dr. Stone. I've seen all of season 1 of Death Note, and like I've seen Princess Mononoke. And that pretty much exhausts my anime.
Gotcha. I haven't watched much anime. Teenage Maddie got real into Full Metal Alchemist.
I haven't seen any Full Metal Alchemist either. I might might have seen a Dragon Ball Z episode, maybe. Not sure.
Yeah, I saw some when they played on Toonami in the after school.
Yeah, see, I
zone.
didn't. My Japanese media consumption goes heavily towards like tokusatsu and not towards anime.
Gotcha. Is
While-
Tokusatsu, does Power Rangers fall into that
Yes.
category? Okay.
The supergroup was supposed to have sat there for some 215 million years, during which time it was tilted. It was then cut by the Tapete Sandstone.
No. It was cut by glaciers, and then the Tapete Sandstone was deposited on top of it, Matt. Like, Matt, if you're going to try to
Yeah.
criticize science, it would behoove you to criticize what science actually says and not a straw man
Yes.
version of it. So I'm going to take a drink for it was cut by the Tapete Sandstone, which couldn't possibly be the case because it's softer than all of those metamorphic rocks that are made of like closely packed crystals.
That 215 million years also left not a shred of evidence.
No, Matt, it's the erosional evidence. We have terminal and lateral moraines from the glaciers that did it. We have glacial drop stones from the glaciers that were carrying the stones with them. We have evidence of the erosion. I don't
Yeah,
know what
I would
else you
also-
want.
I would also like to point out that it's not that it left no evidence, but like much of the evidence has been erased of those rocks has been erased here. Right? Like I'm no geologist, but presumably rocks from that time period, strata from that time period exists elsewhere.
Actually,
Right?
it almost doesn't, but there
Oh, okay.
are a few rocks because one of the things was that this time gap here is during
Yeah.
what we call snowball Earth, where basically glaciers stretched
Oh, okay.
almost straight to the equator, and so
Ooh, okay.
millions of years of rock were just scraped away by glaciers and ended up getting mostly subducted after
Oh,
the
okay.
glaciers retreated. But I do believe there are some places that do actually preserve rock from that time period. But it almost doesn't exist. Because yeah, it turns out global glaciation is a really great way to scour the entire planet of a few rock layers.
That's true. Also, Earth recycles its crust. It's a
Sure
thing we
does.
We're lucky we have as much evidence as we do, right?
Mhm.
We're lucky we have as much data as we do, given how tectonically active Earth is.
Yeah, in fact, actually really, really old rocks, like Hadean era rocks, basically you can't find them outside of like parts of Canada and parts of Australia. And like that's it.
That's really cool. That's it. Yeah, that's really cool.
Right here, it's expected that there was 155 million years of deposition of dirt, which somehow all vanished without a trace of evidence of erosion.
Hey Matt,
Without a hey
are
Matt,
those-
there's evidence of the erosion.
what are those uneven parts there where there's like
Huh.
some other rock that's in there? That's kind of like
Yeah.
stuck in the middle there.
Hey, is that evidence of erosion?
It sure is. In fact, one of the things that exists within the rocks of the Grand Canyon is something called the Surprise Canyon Formation. Now you might wonder, like, what do you mean that there's a canyon in the Grand Canyon? And I mean that there is a canyon in the Grand Canyon. It's called a paleo canyon. And we can actually trace its course through the ancient rock and tell that there used to be a canyon cutting through the area that is now the Grand Canyon from a different river from a long time ago, complete with its own tributaries and its own infill. And Maddie, did you know that canyons are formed by erosion?
I did know that canyons are formed by erosion, much like the way the Grand Canyon was formed
Exactly.
by erosion from the Colorado River.
So if there's a paleo canyon preserved in the rocks of an area, that is the
That sure
preservation of erosion, right?
sounds like evidence of erosion.
Wow.
To me.
Weird.
Whoa.
Oh,
Wild.
oh my gosh.
Huh.
Oh,
Hey,
really
I think there's a
crazy.
geology course at that ASU catalog.
I'm gonna hit play while you check that out.
Yeah, I'm gonna check it out.
The remains of the Surprise Canyon
Hey, the Surprise Canyon. He said it. Take a
The
drink.
Surprise Canyon, yay!
All right, let's see what we
Formation are supposed to represent 25 million years, again alleged to have eroded away while leaving behind no evidence.
Matt, my guy, Matt. Why do you think we call it the Surprise Canyon Formation, Matt? What do you think that means? Why does it cut through other layers, Matt? That is the evidence of the erosion. What do you?
Mhm.
You're talking about it right now. You're talking about the evidence. You have an arrow pointing to the evidence, Matt.
Oh, hey, there's a free online course taught at ASU on physical geography, and it's in their K through 12 section.
Matt should probably take. Roshina for 199 says, God bless Thea for Earth's unique attributes. Indeed, that is actually true. So, in case you guys don't know, Thea is the name of the probable planetary body that collided with the sort of proto-Earth to create the moon, but that also caused a lot of the like aspects of Earth's crust and mantle and whatnot to be what they are. So, yeah. Yeah, as Jillian Wren says, bold of you to assume that he thinks, yeah, that's true, that's fair. My gosh. I just can't imagine saying that there's no evidence of erosion in the Grand Canyon while talking about the surprise canyon formation and putting a little arrow in my picture pointing to the evidence of the erosion.
To the evidence of erosion. Yeah.
Oh, man. What a strange world. You know what? Awkward sends a $10 blank super chat. Thank you very much. If you did actually mean for there to be something in there, please tag me, because I know that sometimes YouTube screws up or people misclick or something and it doesn't get a message. So if you did mean for there to be a message, please just at me and I will read it. But thank you either way. For $5, Lieutenant Math Navigator says, this is a man that would be surprised by the burning smell if he touched the pretty lights on his stovetop. Yeah, that's true. I mean, this one thing I have to remind myself pretty frequently when I'm talking about Raw Matt is that this is a man who took seriously the idea that maybe you could survive without calories in the long term. And I'm not sure, but maybe even without taking in liquid water. I'm not positive about that one. Because remember...
Yeah, true breatharianism says you do not need to take in anything.
Right. And Raw Matt claims to have done some time doing the breatharian thing. So, like...
Please don't do that, guys. Please eat.
You know, here's all it takes to know that breatharianism can't work, right? So, one...
Yeah.
Understand the conservation of mass, right? That's a thing that exists, right? Then, all you need to do is note that your exhalations are denser than the air.
For the processes that we are discussing, mass is conserved, but that is not a universal law.
That's true. But for the level of education that Matt evinces, conservation of mass is something that he should be able to understand and that should be universal to all the situations he's going to encounter.
That's true, but he claims it... Anyway, continue. Do the thing.
Sorry. So the fact that your exhalations are denser than your inhalations means that every time you exhale, mass is leaving your body. You have a finite amount of mass in your body, which means you can just do a simple calculation and say, if I don't take in mass, I will reach zero mass at this particular time, and obviously I would die before that. So you can just kind of come up with a ballpark figure that says, just based on the conservation of mass, right? Just on that, this is how long you could go without taking in matter. And that would just give you a ballpark maximum estimate as to how long this could reasonably happen. And you will find that it is much less time than the normal lifespan of a human. And there you go. You just debunked all of breatharianism by just going like this and measuring a few things. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna hit play, and we're gonna hear more from the breatharian. Well, the former breatharian, because there is no other kind of breatharian.
Yeah.
The top layer of Grand Canyon is claimed to be 270 million years old, and tourists now walk around on this layer. 270 million years of geological deposits have all been washed away.
Matt, do you think that the topsoil is thought to be 270 million years old? Do you think that the scientists don't know that, like, sand blows in sometimes? Like, what? No, Matt, no one thinks that the very top layer of the soil is 270 million years old, because people know about things like wind-borne sand and things like that.
Okay, so it's team topsoil, not the same as the uppermost rock layer.
Correct.
That's it.
I'm taking a drink. I can't.
Yeah.
My God.
I'm taking a drink so I can continue to breathe.
Also a good reason.
Yeah, guys, breathing shouldn't be this difficult.
It shouldn't be difficult at all.
It shouldn't be difficult at all.
If we ignore...
got to spend some of my Mother's Day in the ER because breathing was too difficult.
All right, here we go.
Anyway.
Temple Butte limestone, Muav limestone. Okay, so just another. Yours are missing.
Yeah.
Surprise Canyon Formation, we still have a total of 1,295,000,000 years of alleged geologic time that has gone missing.
Hey guys, if you have big number, therefore God, take a drink. This is your
I'm just
big
gonna
number.
take a drink. Put that on the.
Or put it on the
put that
bingo
on the
card.
bingo
Yeah, it's not a drink, but
card.
whatever. I'll take a drink. I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
Big number, therefore God. It's one of the classics.
Mm-hmm.
There are a quadrillion, trillion, billion stars, and
Yes, and therefore what? To quote Dr. Josh.
right.
This all adds up to a staggering 81% of the geologic column, which is
Earth has been around for about 4.5 billion years, and you just showed me less than 2 billion years that were allegedly missing.
Yeah.
That's not
The oldest
80%.
Yeah, that's true.
Yep.
The oldest rock we found is 4.1 billion years, and the oldest mineral is 4.5 billion.
Yeah. So what he just showed us is like maybe 30-40%? Maybe?
Yeah. Again, it's astonishing that we have as much continental crust as we do to study, right? Oceanic crust gone. That recycles so fast.
A few million years in most cases.
Yep. So like because it's astonishing we have this much evidence, right? And so if what Ramat's trying to say here is we don't have a perfect record, therefore we can't say anything about Earth's geologic history, then that's a fundamental misunderstanding of how science works, because science, especially in like geophysics, right? Anything where we're dealing with like planet-sized things, right? Where we only have one of them, you know, and the data we have is the data we get, right? That's like sometimes you do have to like scientists have to work really hard, right, to make any type of meaningful conclusions off of what limited data is available.
Hey, Maddie,
I mean, like,
sorry.
Yeah, scientists have made full careers out of like the 10 minutes of data we got from the Russian mission to Venus, right? Like,
it was like 120 minutes, Maddie. Come on.
Okay, sorry, 120 minutes.
Also, so Duff Freak says, this all sounds like a really complicated, smart, thoughtful, and scholarly way to deny Jesus Christ. Maddie, are you a godless atheist Christ hater?
I'm not. I'm actually a professing Christian.
Oh, weird.
Oh, I'm doing Christian religious art right now.
Huh. It's actually, I believe that approximately half of my regular co-hosts are not atheists and are in fact professing members of some religion.
Yeah. Do I need to sing the Creed song? I can.
I mean, I don't think you have to. Okay. But
that's good, because I do actually only know the first verse by heart.
Oh, come on, Maddie. Okay, fake Christian alert. We just found it.
Fake Christian. I don't know the Christ who on the cross forsaken verse of the Creed song.
Next thing you'll be telling me is that you don't know the difference between the Nicene and the Nicene-Constantinopolitan Creed. So, and you probably don't even have an opinion on the Filioque.
I sure don't. Oh, but hey, didn't we do this was some big anniversary of the Nicene Creed this year? I don't know. There was a thing in England.
That sounds like a thing that probably happened.
There was a thing that probably happened.
Okay, without a trace in what is described as surely the finest record of geological history anywhere on Earth.
Okay.
Hey, don't use Picard like that.
No, it's very disrespectful.
It's very disrespectful.
Although so is Picard. So, you know.
Picard would never.
Well, he wouldn't Picard.
Oh.
Yeah, because the Picard in Picard is not much like... Well, the Picard in the first 2 seasons of Picard is not much like the Picard in this Next Generation Picard.
He's trauma Picard.
Rock layers were originally laid down horizontal, and in the case of the Grand Canyon supergroup, they were tilted. Then they were cut off by erosion, then more layers laid down on top of that.
Yeah, Matt, that's that evidence of erosion you were asking for. That's what that is.
Yeah.
Horizontally. The rock layers do not conform, as you can see in the picture. So they suggested, evolutionists, that millions of years of time between when the supergroup was cut and when the layers were deposited. But there is...
No. Matt, you had to finish the clause. They suggested that millions of years between the supergroup and the cut. You need a verb for that clause, Matt. You can't just not have a verb for the clause. The clause needs a verb. What is the verb? Past? Existed? What? Give me a verb. My God. It's like listening to a Roman senator, except he dies before he actually finally gets to the verb. I'm taking another drink. I cannot stand these just little clause fragments that just hang out. It's like, what if I just shove a noun phrase in there? I don't know, Matt. What if you do? Maybe are you taking speech lessons from Karl Baugh? What the hell?
Yeah.
I'm crashing out over grammar.
You are crashing, but to be fair, you would.
That's true. That is a very me thing to do. I'm just gonna hit play. I can't.
No evidence of this 215 million years.
Matt, the gap is itself evidence, because what else could there be other than that there's a gap? But also we have evidence of the erosional event, because again, we have the evidence of glacial erosion, and I know that you know that scientists can identify glacial erosion because the reason you think there was a post-flood ice age is all the evidence of glacial erosion across North America, especially because you're a Canadian. And so there's a lot of glacial morphology in the rocks, like directly where you live. Like, Matt, do you ever wonder why Northern Ontario, and by northern I just mean anything north of like the Great Lakes, is so full of lakes, and that the lakes tend to have like a linear direction to them? It's because of glaciers. We know what glaciers look like and what they leave behind. And that's what we see. Roshina for 199 says, complete sentences are also a leftist plot. Right. I forgot. If you don't want to be woke, then you have to...
You can argue all you want, but where's the evidence? If all these rock layers were laid down over millions of years, then why is there mysteriously no sediments laid down during that 215 million years?
We don't think there's no sediments laid down.
Honey, we think they were laid down and then eroded.
Yep.
Honey Boo Child.
Yep. Just like the sediments that were laid down to form the Grand Canyon, but that were laid down in what is now the negative space of the canyon aren't there anymore.
Yeah.
That's also something that happened at other times in the same parts of the world in this case. That's a thing. Do you think
Raw Matt is absolutely shocked by the concept of painter's tape?
Probably.
Right? The fact that we could put something down, put stuff over it,
take it off,
and then take it off, and we have evidence of its existence in the negative space. Do you think that's a hard concept?
It probably is. Yeah. Okay. Or at least if it's not, then I'm curious as to how it is that he's confused.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
Lack of Leon Kennedy for $5 redo says, it is the finest record of geologic history anywhere on Earth, and don't call me Shirley. Thank you very much. And then there's an AIG is a bag of dicks, a Godzilla, a Mothra, and a Ghidorah, so we will take a drink. Cheers. I don't think I've ever crashed out this hard over bad grammar. But, like, this isn't the kind of bad grammar that, like, you know, your English teacher tuts at you, like splitting infinitives or ending sentences with prepositions, which are bullshit rules anyway. This is, like, the basics of not just how English works, but, like, how languages usually work. Like... You don't normally get to just drop a verb out of a clause. That's not a normal thing that languages just do.
This is not much better than listening to my 3-year-old try to tell a story, right?
Yeah, it's a similar level of sophistication.
Yeah, well, like, and that's okay because she's learning, right?
She's 3.
She's learning how to do this communication. She's 3, so that hers is very developmentally appropriate.
She's not a grown adult trying to debunk all of science.
Right. We like, Vashanti, look at it. Okay. Yeah, she like repeats the same clause over and over and over because she forgot what she wanted to say next. and you're trying to help her figure it out. Yeah. But yeah, this is barely better than that.
Yeah.
I just have way more patience for a toddler.
Well, also your toddler isn't like, doing propaganda for fascists. So there's that too.
That's true. That's true. She does say some wild things sometimes. About
I hope this is going someplace good, because right now I'm imagining your little baby girl talking about final solutions. So please let it go somewhere else.
No, it goes to places like we're in the car and my foot's on the brake, right? And she's like, "Mommy, foot off brake. Like, go. I want go," right?
Oh.
And I'm like, "Well, we would run into the car in front of us." And she's like, "Run into the car." Like, I see no problems with this. Right? It's just
she's just like the intrusive thoughts always win.
Yeah, the intrusive thoughts always win. And so, but like trying to convince her that like taking a toy from a friend is a bad thing to do. And she's like, "I wanted it."
I mean, yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So her
no
verbal
lies
skills. Yeah, her verbal skills are so advanced for her age, right? She put all her skill points into verbal skills, and like none into gross motor, but that's fine. So her verbal skills like far outweigh her other like cognitive development, right? And so the idea of like so she is developmentally incapable of understanding like I do an action and that causes an emotional response in someone else, and that's something that I'm gonna have feelings about, right? Like that's incredibly complex and a 3-year-old can't do it. So her so her verbal skills of like, "No, I wanted it." It's like I don't think that's a good idea, Mommy.
I think what I'm hearing is that within 2 to 3 years, your daughter is going to be better at verbal communication than Matt has ever been in his life.
Possibly. One of my favorite things she has told me the other day is Hannah has another mommy, and her name is Star Mommy. And Star Mommy looks just like Mommy, except she doesn't have to go to work or do chores.
Sounds nice. How do I get that?
So
gig?
sometimes, I know, right? So sometimes baby girl will tell me about like Star Mommy would play with me.
Oh. Go talk to Star Mommy.
You gotta go talk to Star Mommy. I'm so glad you have Star Mommy to play with you. This
Also,
sounds
that
so
does
good.
sound-
I'm gonna wash a dish.
This does sound dangerously like the plot to Coraline, to be fair.
That's totally fair, but it's so good.
Fits of Rage for $2 says, "Sounds kind of prescriptivist of you, Dapper, with an AID as a bag of dicks." And look, it's actually not. I am pointing out how languages are observed to work at the very basic level. Let's see. Also, JL Warren says, "I am curious if the truth of a theology is predicated on the God necessarily existing. Wouldn't it be better to argue that that proposition as opposed to the merits of the theology?" I am not entirely sure I know what the question is, like what kind of answer you're looking for, JL. I'm sorry, and part of that might just be that like, I'm in science critique mode and not in like let's figure out how to do theology mode. Because I mostly don't do that.
Yeah.
My interest in theology is mostly academic and not all that much like, oh, I got to figure out the exact correct formula for creedal statements. Like, I don't know. So yeah, I might just not be understanding exactly what you're looking for. But look, if it's a really important question, you can send me a message, and maybe you'll have more room to explain exactly what it is you're looking for, and I can try to get back to you on that. But also, a possibility might just be that I'm just like, I just don't care to assess the truth value of that particular theological question because it doesn't matter to me. Because as far as this channel goes, like my actual personal religious affiliations and positions are something I don't really talk about on the channel, with very rare exceptions. But for the purposes of the channel, you can mostly just assume that I'm an apatheist, and you'll probably get my responses as like on the channel. Right. If you just assume that I'm going to be apatheistic, because that's basically how I treat the channel, is as if that's me. Whether or not that actually is me in my personal life is a question for other people to know the answer to. That are like personal friends in my personal life. Vishanti, who's been a member for 57 months and is at the tetrapod level, says, "But Maddie, what's Hija isn't an ordained Essene. Does she mean the? I'm not sure what that word is supposed to be. But it's true.
But I am an ordained gnome.
That's true. And also the only ordained Essene, of course, is Ramat, because he's the only one who was lucky enough to get an ordination from a now extinct Second Temple Jewish sect that didn't do ordinations in the first place.
Yeah.
And Ramat also confused Eastern Orthodox Christianity with Orthodox Judaism.
That's true. He said that the Eastern Orthodox didn't read the New Testament.
Because he thought they were talking about Orthodox Jews.
Oh, Iha.
Iha.
Oh, Iha. Okay. I'm sorry. I wasn't expecting to code switch into Spanish in the middle of the super chat. I'm sorry. Iha. Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Iha.
That's true.
Thank you, Fear Hebrew Conlangermonger. I do know the word. I do know the word. I just wasn't expecting to go into Spanish. Also, it's spelled very similarly to a Klingon word.
What's the Klingon word for daughter?
Pukbet.
Once more, please.
Pukbet.
Pukbet?
Yeah. Well, it's not k, it's k with a uvular. Pukbet.
Bet.
Yeah.
If that was easier to say, that would be my code name for baby daughter.
And instead
maybe I'll just call.
I mean, Puk is child. You can just go for that.
Puk. Okay.
The bet is actually
bet.
The word for like female person.
Oh, okay. So Puk.
So like girls, women are all reasonably referred to with bet. And
bet.
Boys and men are referred to with lod, which means that also son is Puk lod.
Oh, okay. Oh, what's the name of the Klingon woman that Quark marries?
Grilka.
Grilka. I might just call my child Grilka.
Okay. Lieutenant Math Navigator for $5 says, okay, I believe Dapper isn't a linguist. DMing assumed it was Spanish. Okay, I guess everyone assumed it was Spanish except for me. Sorry, everybody. I feel embarrassed now. You ruined it, everybody. I'm gonna hit a little bit more play, and then we'll keep going.
On top of the cut supergroup, that's a lot of years to leave no evidence. I mean, think about it just for a second. Scientific studies have shown that sediments and even dust particles accumulate at even as low as 1 millimeter per year. Mm-hmm. At that rate, in 215 million years, that would accumulate 215,000 meters. That's over 700,000 feet of...
Okay, but then we reduce that by about a factor of 10 for the compaction, and then we run millions of years of glaciers over it, Matt.
Yeah.
Dust, debris, and ecosystem remnants that should be...
There were no ecosystems because all life was aquatic and very simple, so there were no terrestrial ecosystems, Matt.
Visible. There is no accumulation of these sediments of the alleged 215 million years of time at the unconformity layer.
Yes, Matt, because it's an unconformity. That's what an unconformity is. It's where you've eroded away the previous stuff.
I love the random shushing Darwin showing up while we're talking about geology.
Yeah.
So good.
Okay. Vishanti says my work here is done. She was just an agent of chaos who unexpectedly tossed a single Spanish word in the middle of an English sentence. And then when I did not immediately recognize it as such...
Yeah.
I am now the worst language guy of all the language guys. All right, so that's where we're gonna leave off for today. We've only got 16 more minutes of this match.
Okay.
16
minutes.
I think
we can do it.
I think so. How much did we do today? We did about 5 minutes, so we might be done with this in like 3 or 4 months.
Okay.
So, you know.
Amazing. Perfect.
All right, so Maddie, do you have anything coming up that you want people to know about?
No, but I'm going to tell you my current Gen 5 team, and you all can critique it in the comments to drive comments to Dapper's
I like
video.
that. All right, what do you got?
Okay, I have a Korok, which is the second evolutionary form of Sandile, so a ground dark type. I have a Clink. I have a Siglif, flying psychic. I have a Vanillite. I have Pig Knight. And I have Girder. I want to swap the Girder out because Pig Knight is fire fighting, so I don't need another fighting type. He's just like at level with my other guys. And I want to get a Frillish, which is a water ghost, or get a dragon, but that's more for fun. So yeah, so please to roast my choices in the comments, and tell me who I should catch.
All right. So let's see what else we got going on. So today is Tuesday. So Thursday at noon, there is a video premiering. Let me see what it is. It is the second part of the Canadian Creationist gave me homework. Creationists still can't define information. So we're going to talk about information, and the Creationists are never going to tell me what that actually means and why it's relevant. That'll be at noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. Then on Friday, we will be over on Top Hats Off at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern for more Dungeons and Dragons with me and Chesh as the GM, or DM because it's Dungeons and Dragons, so I can actually say DM, and Jordan and Zerolon and Metageeky. And we will be continue on with our adventures to try to save the Queen of Monarchia. Because that's what the kingdom is called. It's called Monarchia.
Amazing.
Yeah.
You remember that time I was your DM and everyone in the town was named Robert?
Yes.
It was a good day.
It was a good day. So let's see. Then on Saturday, we will be back to see why it is that beloved video game character Kirby is a creationist who's going to tell us about dinosaurs. And part of that might be a lie. But you'll have to tune in to figure out which part I'm lying about on Saturday at noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. And then, of course, next Tuesday, I have already confirmed with Jackson. We have Jackson with Jackson coming. So that'll be that Tuesday, and that will, again, be at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. And if you have access to my Discord server, you can hop over there. I'm going to stream at least one episode of Star Trek Enterprise. I will also be honest with you. I think I have had a good night's sleep twice in the last 30-ish days. So I might not want to do both episodes. And yes, that is in large part a result of a lot of excess anxiety from the fact that there are things that are affecting my ability to do work that are beyond my control and that are in the hands of other people. If there's one thing that raises my anxiety, it is having to rely on other people far away with whom I cannot easily communicate about things that are vital to me, because I feel like I have no control and all I can do is worry about it, even though that's maladaptive. So, Maddie gets it. It's just one of those things. And so as a result, I had been routinely waking up after going to bed around like 10 or 11, at times like 3 or 4:30 a.m. and failing to go back to sleep. So that's also why I finished the script today by like 7 a.m. So
amazing.
Yeah. That's how my time's going. Just giving you guys a heads up so you know why things are weird here at Casa Dino. All right, so the last thing to say is that ice must be abolished, and we are out.
Hey, before you leave, I just want to take a second to thank my patrons and channel members, especially those pledging $20 or above. Siloof, Ben Tovind, Tapioca Weasel, Mikau Dominiak, Sammy LaFleur, Edwin M., Kenneth Swenson, John Ackerman, Sphincter of Doom, Regios, Landon Knoll, Ian Chen, Eleron Teller, Phil Rivara, David Hercules, Joshua Geese, Dan Sheedy, Pegajace, The Plastic Mouse, Gordon Loves Science, Amber Athelian, Prixie Purple, Agricola Sequa, and Me, Myself, and I. It's because of my channel members and patrons whom you're seeing on screen that this channel can stay afloat. Without you, it would all shut down. If you want to join the team, there's a link to join the channel below this video, and there's a link to join the Patreon in the description. On the Patreon, you can get a 15% discount for pledging annually, and either way, you get early access to virtually all of my scripted videos months before they come out for the general public. Thanks for watching.